Good Work Podcast, hosted by Terrell Strayhorn and Jaquin Johnson. We specialize in taking a deep dive into issues that truly matter. Each episode unpacks the challenges and opportunities facing today's leaders, from classrooms to boardrooms, offering insights that inspire real change. By redefining success, we're changing lives, empowering people everywhere to create environments where everyone feels a sense of belonging, whether at home, work, or school. So hey, sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we explore the issues shaping our futures, one meaningful conversation at a time. Let's go!
Welcome to everyone to the Do Good Work Podcast. Happy Sunday to each and every one of you out there. Thank you for tuning in to the October 5th episode of Do Good Work Podcast. I'm your co-host, Terrell, aka T Rizzy, and so excited to be here for what promises to be an incredible show, joined in the virtual studio by my friend and co-host, Jaquin Johnson. And we have got a show for you, but y'all know how we got to do it. You got to use the chat and say something nice to folks out there. Put a little something in the chat. Tell us where you're tuning in from or something that's on your mind. What you eat for dinner? What you eat for breakfast? And we're going to get right into it. Again, like and share if you don't mind. Help us let folks know that we are on the airwaves, and kick it over to Jaquin. Get us started. How you doing?
The game, I'm doing well. I gotta say, listen, this week has been amazing. This week actually went by really, really fast. I'm not mad about it. But today I was pretty productive. So to get us started, you know how we do it using the first letter of your last name. Describe your day or week. Strayhorn is S. J for Johnson. I kick it over to you first, and then I go.
All right. Well, let's see. I'm going to get started with, I know my word, and my word for today is, a couple things. Sorry, I was trying to share. Y'all share on social media for me until I get back to it. But so someone was telling me this week, they were like, they watched the show and they can never think of, this is what they said, Jaquin. They were like, I could never think of my good word for the week. And I was like, what's your good word? And they were like, the thing at the beginning of the show. And I was like, I like that. I think this is called the good word part of the podcast. Your good word for do good work. Good word.
What do they say? Clock it.
Yeah.
Clock it.
I'm screaming. So, to institute that, my good word of the week is steadfast. If I had to use at least a word that starts with the S to describe my week, I would say steadfast. And it fits part of what you said at the beginning of the show, and that is it's been a really, really incredibly so steadfast, not because it was easy. It was not an easy week. It was actually a pretty demanding week. I had to get a lot of things done. Reports, manuscripts, survey reviews, teaching, decks, and I'm not even, in school. I mean, all sorts of things. And so it was steadfast because I stayed rooted and I stayed moving forward, organizing a list, plowing through it in the face of deadlines, demands, distractions, good, challenging things and accomplishments. I stayed focused and anchored in my purpose. And of course, I didn't do that alone. It took people to help me. But that's what steadfastness means. It means to be persistent, not perfect, to be steady, not always successful, but to keep moving forward. So my word of the week is steadfast. Jay.
I love it, Jay Johnson. So I'm gonna go with jamming, because I was jamming to some music while doing a lot of work. But I want to say something because this is their first time on the show. My grandparents are listening in, tuning in to tonight's show. So I want to say welcome and thank you for joining us. I actually got to visit them yesterday, and it was really something that was needed. A lot of laughs, good food, and just something that as they're getting up in age, is good to see them and experience so many things. So jamming, yes. So I am someone who is fueled by being around people, especially when it comes to work or working. And I have a certain task right now which I am extremely behind on, and the deadline is this upcoming weekend. So I was listening to some music to kind of get that task done. But jamming is my word.
Love it. All right. Jamming it is. And we got some words on the screen. We got folks tuning in from Petersburg. Thank you, Petersburg, right down the street from where I am physically right now. And certainly want to shout out other folks. We got Harris. Happy word is happy.
Hey.
I love it.
I love it.
Happy. And Dr. Whitty, thank you. Word is winner. We love it. And we will check across platforms, but so glad to see all of the folks using the chat and sharing their word. Remember, take the first letter of your last name, give us your good word of the week. And sometimes you can't even say a word, you just put a symbol. Yeah, that's what
there you
happens.
go. And there is nothing wrong with that.
There is nothing wrong with it. We love it.
There is nothing wrong. I might use the symbol next week. I just be making up words
are
when we get on the
everywhere.
screen.
And for everyone who wants to know, and I know most people do, the Texans did win today, so it's a good day.
Did the Titans win? I know they were in a close
not.
game. Okay, not too much.
Probably not.
I'm pretty sure they took a W today. They did 22-21 against the St. Louis Cardinals.
They won?
They did.
Okay.
Surprise.
Boy, word of the week is surprise. Shocked. All right. So thank y'all for sharing those words. Keep them coming. And if you have a team out there that you're rooting for, let us know. How'd they do today? Today was a good day for that kind of carrying on. And so glad the Texans, actually one of my friends who lives in Baltimore was telling me he went to the game, and I realized, I was like, wait a minute, I'm a train ride away. I could have gone to see the Texans. So I almost jumped in the car and went, but I decided not the car. That's a lie. Train and went, but I didn't have enough time. But I'm glad I didn't, because Texans killed the Ravens. My goodness.
Oh, what was the score?
44-10.
That's pretty good. Whoa, the Ravens. Wow.
Come on, Texans.
That's pretty impressive.
This is our year. This is our year.
Y'all are literally like what, 1-3, 1-4.
Take us to the Super Bowl. Okay.
Not too fast.
Uh-oh. Dallas Cowboys got a W today. Okay, about them Cowboys. I see. Yeah, I told my friends, like, we're a house divided. I can't vote for the Ravens. I got to vote for the Texans. This is horrible. I need better friends. JK, love you. All right, so let's see here. We are going to get into this, and there's no way in the world. I don't know how to share on LinkedIn quickly. Are you watching LinkedIn?
I don't do too much over here, but
yes, too much. Not too much. I'm gonna try to. I don't know what I'm doing.
Wait, you saying it's hard to share on LinkedIn? You shared it.
No, I mean I shared the show on my page. But I was trying to share it on the Do Good Work page. Okay.
Oh, I got you. Don't worry about it. I got you.
We need to do an application for. Uh-oh. I am glad I didn't watch it. The Ravens are my team. Sorry, Dr. Whitty. It wasn't a good day, but we're still standing. That's the title of sub-theme of tonight's show. Still standing. So we're gonna talk about it, and The Ravens live to play again another day. All right, let's get into some of this for the day. It is October.
Hold on,
Already.
friend. Marcus Dalton said determined on LinkedIn.
Determined.
That's their good word for the day.
Love it. How you doing, Marcus? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. And so we're going to keep those coming. And okay. All right. Thank you to my Dean friends. Y'all texting. Put it in the chat, but that's okay. Love you. Love you still. All right. Let's focus. Let's focus. Okay. So it's October, and that means it is, I don't know if y'all know this, but October is full of stuff. It's National Mental Health Month. It is actually National Depression and Mental Health Screening Month. It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so if you haven't already, mark your calendars, October 10th, World Mental Health Day. And so we got to make sure that we do something. And we'll make sure that we do something through all of our channels for that. But know this, mental health matters, and mental health is an important dimension of overall well-being and health. So you want to make sure that you go to the gym. You want to make sure that you eat healthy. You want to make sure you get your vitamins, and you want to make sure you help me, Jaquin. Drink orange juice and eat fruit,
eat your
and
broccoli.
vegetables.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Go for a walk.
Speaking of
practice
which,
mindfulness.
but
take time for yourself.
Most importantly,
now you're gonna ask me for my help and then gonna override me.
Because what I'm saying is you're supposed to stay on the physical dimension, the physical realm, but you went right there. So that's fine. He did it. So y'all go back and rewind it and play it again. Do all the physical stuff, and people love the physical. They work out, they go running, they go for walks, they eat healthy, whatever. But it's the mental that October is about. Because you can be the most buff and fit with triceps and biceps, but not balancing your mental health, and all of it fails, because one of the strongest muscles we've got, come on somebody, it is not in your arms, it is not in your legs. The strongest muscle we have as humans actually is in our mind. It's our brain. And so you got to take care of it. Eat healthy and all those things is important. But mental health, October is an important month that helps us realize or focus back on mental health. That's what we want to talk about a bit tonight, is how we're going to make sure that we take care of ourselves and mental health. And so I thought to kick it off, October is an interesting month, 31 days, and it's a month of transition, because this is the month not all of my friends, but many of my friends actually like this part. It gets cooler. I'm not a fan. I am not a fan of this. But October serves that month of transition, right? Where we start to get into fall weather. You can already feel the temperatures are dropping. If you go out early in the morning, it's cooler. If you go out at night, it's cooler than it is during the summer. And about I don't know I'll let you tell us about Tennessee, but right now in Virginia, it's about still summer-ish, but you can already start to see some signs of the leaves changing colors, and the changing temperatures, a little more windy, especially like I said in the morning and so forth. Sun is starting to set and rise at different times. It's a month of transition. What about in Tennessee?
Yeah, right now I think the high was 83 today, but it's not extremely hot. It's a nice breeze. And I think right now at 7:16 p.m. Central Time, it is 73 degrees. Now I gotta say, I like this weather. I was telling my mom today that at one point I really, really enjoyed the summer. But I think as I've gotten older, I am falling in love with the fall. But I'm not okay once it gets to like that November, December part. No, my mood will shift drastically.
There we go. He said it. He's just all in my notes for tonight. That's cool. But before I go into the shifting of the moods, let me just put it on the record. It is 90 degrees in Houston today. Right now at 7:00 p.m. it's 84 degrees, and I long for those temperatures. I was born in May. I like hot temperatures. I still like hot temperatures, no matter how much growner and older I get. But I have to admit that it is always nice to put on a nice hoodie. And it's easier to put on a hoodie in the cooler temperatures because you don't have to perish. I don't mind perishing in the hot temperatures. How about y'all? Put it in the chat. Y'all like hot temperature, cold temperature, more clothes, less clothes? What's your fancy? And while you do that, Jaquin just nailed it. October is not just a season of changing temperatures and leaves, but also of changing moods. And in fact, something that I was thinking about earlier, because we got to put some thoughts out there in the metaverse about this for Mental Health Month, is seasonal belonging is a term that I ended up using this week. And I was talking about how people's sense of belonging or sense of connection shifts and changes during different times of the year. And so in the book on belonging years ago, I wrote that sense of belonging is a feeling, is a basic need, a human right. And I said it has 7 dimensions to it, one of which is it changes and shifts with time, context, location. Well, this week was the week where I was talking to someone who was like, like when it's warm and it's sunny, man, I'm up, I'm connected, I'm jazzed, I'm here. But right about this time of year, I gotta be real careful when it starts to get a little gray and it starts to get a little cooler. I'm not as warm, I'm not as outgoing, I'm not as friendly. And I thought, seasonal belonging. I feel like I belong when in the summer, but maybe not so much in the fall. Or it's not even about belonging or not belonging. It's also that what it takes for me to belong and to feel that feeling shifts as the seasons change. What do you think?
I agree. I think listen, that is spot on. Where'd you write this? Or it's in the works?
I was talking. It's going to have to be written. Yeah. Don't y'all take it.
Now that you said it, you have to write about it. So get to it. But no, I totally agree. I think that, people who enjoy the summer or warmer months, they are outside, they are prancing around, they are finding, different activities to engage in or with. But I know, like for me, when it's raining or when it starts to get really cold, listen, I am not how I would be when it's warmer outside. There are days, you can't really, I guess if you sit with it and figure out like what is causing this mood shift, you can pinpoint it. But there are days you just wake up and just like, I don't know why I feel blue today or why I'm not as like energetic or exciting as I normally am. So I do believe that the weather can shift moods for sure. And I am one of those people, when it rains outside, I'm not as upbeat as I am when it's warm outside.
And upbeat is the way that we describe it, but we're going to talk about it because we've been writing about this and we've got a chapter coming out about it. But upbeat, in the mood, feeling blue, these are all phrases that we use as humans, but they really reflect psychological states. I'm up, I'm down, I'm in, I'm lively, I'm overwhelmed. So we got to think about these words because we kick them around a lot. And sometimes people think, I'm just using a word, but they really are your mind and your body coming together to tell you about your psychological state. Dr. Whitty says, given the topic of mental health, what are y'all's thoughts? Oh my gosh, on the government shutdown. Hundreds of thousands are affected, including me. So sorry, Dr. Whitty, love and light to you. What would you say to encourage people through this period? And we're talking about it because this is, front and center about needs. Everyone has needs. Seems simple to say, but we in our writing often talk about the fact that people have needs in 2 sort of quadrants, what we call express needs, things that we can say, like, I've got some juice in my glass, I need a drink. Earlier, I went to grab food, I needed food. I'm conscious of that. But then there are latent needs, latent. These are unexpressed, often inobvious kinds of needs, right? Another expressed needs, an urgent need to work, to make money in this capitalist society in order to pay our bills, to take care of our provisions. And so when these needs are not met, they throw off our normal human functioning. They can upset and disrupt our normal flow. And so then our body is out of sort of homeostasis. That's a big word that simply says, our bodies strive to be in a place of balance, right? Where that's why we don't sit there. Typically, we don't sit in dehydration. We don't sit in hunger. If we're sleepy, most people who have the ability go to sleep. Now, sometimes you push past it and you fight past it, but think about the last time you stayed up super late when your body was tired, but you kept pushing yourself. What that was, and you remember how you felt, and it's like your eyes are droopy and you could barely stand up. That's your body and you fighting, right? To give your body what it needs. Well, when you don't have employment, your body's out of whack, so to speak. And everything you do is in part in quest of satisfying that need. So whereas you might have usually gone for a walk or gone to the gym or cooked a meal or watched your favorite TV, it's hard to do that because your mind is preoccupied with filling the thing that is not there. So it's hard to focus. It's hard to have a routine. It's hard to, and that's why people say, I feel off when these things are not met. So to Dr. Whitty's point, I mean, and I'll let Jaquin chime in and tell his side of it. But I mean, as a team, we are sending love and light to all those who are disproportionately impacted by everything that's happening in the world, especially those who are impacted by the government shutdown. We live in a democracy, and it's not a political statement. It's actually history, right? We live in a democracy where we elect people to act on our behalf in our capital, to pass laws, to legislate, to advocate, to pass a budget and keep the government open. So the fact that regardless of your political leanings, the fact that we have not been able to do that and the government remains closed is a tragedy and a travesty to democracy. Democracy is a great experiment. We're one of the countries that said, hey, look, we don't have to have a dictator. We don't have to have a totalitarian government. We can have government by the people, for the people. That's a hypothesis. It's an experiment that we've been trying for hundreds and hundreds of years. And we live in this day and time where this experiment is under pressure. But for those of us who believe in democracy and believe that good overrides bad, that light eradicates darkness, we're just going to keep on believing and being optimistic about it. Jaquin, what would you say?
And believing is a good word. I think that, one thing I would tag onto that, although I echo everything that you said, is faith. Have faith in that things will get better. There are times where, darkness does occur. That's the way of life. It just happens. But, continue to try to find joy, whatever you enjoy doing, do those things. I do believe that what's happening in our world right now is some things we just cannot control. But the things we can control, let's focus on those.
Yep. So we've been talking about these temperatures and weathers and seasonal belonging. And then I want to get into the chapter, but we've got some more mix of warm and cold. So winter, we got warm weather. Yeah, seasonal allergies are pretty disturbing in hot temperatures. Love it, love it, love it, love it. And so as seasons change and people's sense of connection really shifts during different parts of the year, I think this is also important before we go into the book chapter, and that is these connections that we are talking about aren't just referring to how we feel about ourselves or how we feel about our place of work. It's also useful information for us to check on other people, right? This is a time in the next 3 months This is a time where, for those who watch the podcast, those who will watch the recast, those who will share with others, listen, this is the time for you to check on people, to reach out. One, because it's getting cooler, longer nights, less sun, especially if you live like in the Midwest and some places where it's rainy and snowy and gloomy. Check on people. Send, good morning messages.
Okay.
Had to get
I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna leave that there.
It fit in my script. But check on people. If you're gonna write somebody, say good morning before you text them. But also, listen, and this is real. This is also a season, the next 3 months, that's filled with pretty significant holidays, depending on where you are in the world, your cultural background, your religious affiliations. And so this is hard for some people. This can be for some people the first holiday that they're apart from a loved one. This is the first holiday that they're in a new country. This is the first holiday that since someone passed. This is the first holiday since a divorce or a breakup. These are times where you got to reach out and find ways to connect with people. For those of you who are experiencing it, don't try to go it alone. We're going to say that several times throughout the episode. Don't go it alone. This is what we wrote about in our book chapter, to a study of some African-American men, Black men in college, talking about their mental health. This is the time to reach out. But we often in our writing will critique this because people will say you got to be help seeking. Sometimes you don't know you need help. And sometimes you don't know where to get the help that you need. And sometimes if you've ever been in that sunken place, and sunken place is not always physical. Sometimes it's mental. Sometimes, one of my friends told me not to say this story. I don't know if I told him this. I'm not going to give you the full story. But a few weeks ago, someone pranked my phone. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible situation where someone pranked my phone, had me thinking that my world was riddled and all upside down. And within seconds, I was filled with fear, overwhelmed, unsure, confused, to the point where I didn't even know left from right. And I didn't know where I could go for help. I don't know who helps you with those kind of situations. I'd never been in that situation before. So that is just our way of empathizing with someone, no matter what it is, that if you're going through something and you don't know where to turn for help, one, just know that help is available. Sometimes reach out and say, look, I don't know what I'm reaching out for. I'm just reaching out. But then for those of us who love those, who befriend those, who are in community with those who are hurting, don't let them suffer in silence. Reach out, check on them, FaceTime them so you can see the hurt in their eyes and see if they're being honest with you. But I think this is what we talked about in this new book chapter that's coming out. We want to especially shout out Dr. Robert Palmer, professor of higher education at Howard University, and Dr. Tryon McMickens, associate professor of higher education at North Carolina Central University. The two of them are the lead editors on this book. So clap it up for them, the new book coming out. And they have a chapter in the book that we wrote about. Jaquin, let's talk about the chapter a little bit.
Let's talk about this chapter because we actually had to do some editing to the chapter to get it back to them on the 3rd. And we read through it and we thought that this would be a really good topic to discuss during tonight's show. So it's an ongoing study of African-American men living with disabilities. And a lot of the research that we really look into to write the chapter, some mental health scholars really just focus on the disability solely. And the disability scholars focus on race and racial differences. Really don't really look at the intersections, right? That's what we saw, like the gap where we could add to the literature, talk about Black men with disabilities. And we did qualitative interviews, we did interview Sal, right? Asking them questions about what is their experiences and their narratives of dealing with mental health challenges in higher education.
Yeah. And through these interviews with African-American and Black, by the way, just for the purposes of the conversation, we distinguish between African-American and Black because everybody who is, Black subsumes African-American. There are, Black is not just African-American. One might be Caribbean or Haitian and identify as Black. So it's all of those who trace their ancestral origins back to the motherland, but that's that broader group of people. And so to participate in this study, you one had to be Black or African American, right? Two, you had to identify as a man, and three, you had to have disclosed to us that you were living with a disability, especially a mental health disability, and that could be clinically diagnosed or self-diagnosed, right, Jaquin?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so what we learned is from these interviews that one, there are Black men in college thriving with mental health issues. So one, let's not talk about this as if it's a phantom or ghost. There are Black men in college with mental health issues. Two, let's not equate disability with lack of success. That there are Black men in college with mental health disabilities or mental health issues and disabilities who are getting proper therapy and learning how to cope and have come from histories of learning how to manage their emotions, and they're finding success. So that's just to push back against that narrative that, oh my gosh, these Black men are failing and Black men aren't making it to college and Black men with mental health are facing additional barriers. We're not saying that there aren't additional barriers. What we're proud of is that by looking at it with the right lens and the right theoretical framework, we're able to see success where some people have not seen others. Other things you'd add, Jaquin?
Yeah, so true. It's like, a lot of them really shared how that there are instructors and professors and staff, sometimes fellow peers who view them as broken or need help, but they shed light on and talked about in depth how, although they have a disability, they are, active participants on campus. They are part of fraternities. They are leaders on campus and mentors. They have jobs. All these things that we kind of encourage our students to partake in and get the full college experience. They were saying like, yeah, I may be visibly impaired, but I'm not physically impaired, right? I can still walk. I can still have conversations with people. And so, hearing them share their story, like just because I have an impairment doesn't mean that I can't do the things on college campuses.
Yep. Again, this is a critique of prior literature that typically, oh goodness, I just thought of something. We got to get to that too. But it's a critique of past literature, right? Much of which we write about in chapter 2, or is written about in chapter 2, but that a lot of previous scholars who have studied students with disabilities and Black college men with disabilities have often focused, here's that part that we had to edit out, focused on what they can't do, what's limiting, what's lacking, that because of these conditions, they can't participate in sports in the same way. They can't process information as quickly. They can't always be involved and engaged in clubs and organizations in the same way. And while some of that is true, what we used our chapter to talk about is the opposite. And that is how so many of them are finding success and being engaged and, drawing on their internal and external resources. Said the way we wrote it in the chapter is everybody else is focusing on what they can't do. We're focusing on what they do.
Come on. Yeah. Oh, we had to take out the do out, but yes,
we took the second do out, but yeah.
But it's so true, right? I mean, everything that we've read, it focused on and emphasized what they cannot do. And it's honestly disheartening. And anyone who is writing about students with disabilities, I encourage you to kind of take the approach that we did and, ask probing questions, whether it is one-on-one interviews, group interviews, or survey-based, that gives them the opportunity to share the things they do on and off campus. Because let's be very clear, okay? These students are extremely active on campus. They are where they have a disability, but they also where they have skills and talents and knowledge that are valuable. And they're not just going to sit on the sideline. Okay, hold on. They're not just going to sit on the sideline because of the environment we created. They're going to find ways to push past those barriers. I mean, these students I believe, are the most resilient students we have on our campus, because as they shared, they believe that they're an afterthought, and they have to find ways to overcome such challenges. And 9 times out of 10, they find a way, and they are successful. They are graduating. They are landing jobs. They are part of internships and externships. They are doing the things that most people say they cannot do. And they were proud to share that with us.
Yeah. So proud to share it with us. And here's what they said, and we're anchoring this in the words of our participants. They talked about how, one, they appreciated us asking questions that weren't like, okay, so tell us about your disability. Tell us when you were diagnosed. Tell us how it negatively impacts your day. Tell us about what you can't do, but to really tell us about your college experience. Tell us about what you're most excited about. Tell us about the last accomplishment that you achieved. What's your good word of the week? All of these become those asset-based, strengths-based words and questions that really turn the narrative around and get you focused on how they're finding success, not how they're, facing barriers that compromise their success. But here's the other piece they said to us. And so they said things like, so cool that you guys would ask us these questions and talk to us. But here's the other thing. It's not so much remember, we're talking tonight about mental health disabilities, although the chapter also includes those. I mean, some people are living with depression and poor vision. Some people are living with anxiety and immobility, right? So these disabilities can be comorbidities. They can be coexisting, right? Where I am battling schizophrenia and managing that while I'm also, dealing with learning cognition problem. I don't process information, neurodiversity, don't process information the same way. So this is important because the guys would talk to us about the fact that it's not so much that my disability disables me. It's the environment of the college that I attend that disables me. And that for us became a really powerful pickup. Because that's provocative, that it's not that, I can't see as well or hear as well or move as well, but there are also aspects of the college environment that further disable. And when we talk about how environments disable, we're shifting from what Jaquin often will call the medical model. Lots of people write about it too, but in our conversations, he often will remind us we're really talking about shifting from the medical model of disability, which really focuses on impairment, disability, what one cannot do, the physical and limitations and restrictions that are placed on a person, to a more social or ecological model, which recognizes that environments are cool. I was just talking about this in Nebraska with some folks, and that is because environments is not just our physical climate. It's also the cultural and the institutional, which is sort of reflected in people's perceptions, right? So it's not that maybe my visual disability is disabling me in your class. It's because your expectations of me are too low, teacher, that disable me, right? I could actually put some more light in the room and give me my glasses, and I can see well enough to find success here, but not when you're teaching me in a way like you're coddling me and oh, I know you probably can't see this, and so therefore I'm not going to have you do the assignment. I'm going to give you that's rooted in what looks like and may sound like care, but it's actually rooted in low expectations. It's rooted in this idea, and we say this too, not to give y'all all the chapter on the podcast, but we say this too, where disability anywhere is equated with disability everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That just because I can't see now means I can't learn. Just because I can't walk as well means I can't see, process information, or pass the test. And you'll be surprised how many times well-intended educators, K-12 and higher ed, will make that assumption. Sometimes with intention around caring, but miss how that is so limiting to the student. That's what I would add.
Yeah, I think that the direct quote is, I think it's disability anywhere is inability everywhere, and that's not true.
Yeah.
And when we talk about environments, we are referring to campus programs, classroom settings, institutional practices, laws, or policies. And a lot of Black men in our study highlighted how external factors such as gender roles and racism and social norms shape their experience. So, for example, in the chapter, it does say that one of the participants, well, most of them, shared that professors denied them accommodations because they didn't have formal medical documentation. And we know from research that many Black men do not have positive experiences with doctors. So they're not going to the doctor to get diagnosed, right? And because of that, a lot of them are lacking the documentation needed, which is what we're talking about, policies requiring them to have a formal documentation showing that they have a disability. Now let's talk about it, because without this documentation, right, they do not have access to the accommodations they need to be successful inside and outside the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because of this, a lot of students are in the classroom and they're suffering, which is causing them to, maybe miss class, maybe not have time to complete tests, assignments, quizzes. It could be the environment in the room that is not well lit, or maybe it is, you're at an activity on campus and they're using strobe lights and you have epilepsy. All these things play a role, and because of that, they cannot fully participate as a college student at the institution. Now, these are things that these are environments that are not allowing them to fully participate. It's not saying that they are lazy, that they don't want to be a part of it, that they are aloof. It's not that. They want to be a part. It's just the environment is pushing them to the margins.
Yeah. I love the fact that you said pushing them to the margins. And so what do y'all mean by put it in the chat? Yes, we can talk about it. So they're asking, what do we mean by disabling environment? So give you some examples. And maybe we should write about this. We've been looking for some things to write about, 5 ways in educational environments disable.
Actually, this is your story, so I'm not going to do it. I'll let you have that one. One would be that a student. Okay, so my brother lives with epilepsy, right? And on his college campus, there were activities that student affairs were putting on. Or I'll give you a better one. At the football game, the college football game, he could not attend the game because of the strobe lights during halftime or when the home team scored a touchdown, because it would cause him to have a seizure, right? Mm-hmm. So because of the environment would disable him or trigger an episode. He could not participate in football games.
Yeah, that's a great example. And here's another. We talk about this one a lot, so we may as well get out the way, because it's the one that most people can wrap their minds around. There are students and faculty and staff and alumni and community members, by the way, who are living with physical disabilities that restrict or affect their mobility. So when we have buildings on campus without adequate ramps, elevators, automatic doors, lifts, they exclude students and all of those groups who have those mobility challenges. Here's the other thing that I was just on a campus and it opened my eyes so immediately. We were going somewhere and someone had a lot of stuff to carry. And they said, well, let's take the elevator. And the person said, oh, the elevator's broken. It's been broken for months. And I thought to myself, sometimes we've got elevators and we've got ramps, but they're broken. Mm-hmm. And, to all of us who work in leadership and administration, both in schools and corporate America and higher education, listen, we've got to deal with those facilities issues because everybody's not privileged to just say, oh, well, the elevator's always been broken. A broken elevator means I may not be able to get to chemistry class. It may not mean I may not be able to try out for the recital. I will not get to interview for the internship. Let me calm down, getting too excited. Second one is this, and that is, tracking some of the things that we wrote about in the chapter. We were interviewing guys who are neurodiverse. They process information in different ways. Some may be dyslexic. Some of them just need longer time. So to all of us who teach and advise and work with students at any level in any way, when we only use one form of teaching, lecture, the video, we just dealt with this today with our projects. When we give really long assignments that are in restricted time, kind of modalities where you only have 60 minutes to get it done. You only have one time to submit it. These, while someone might hold them up as, I hope not best practices for teaching, but some practices for teaching, please understand that they disable and disadvantage those who need more than one submission, those who need more than 60 minutes, those who have to read it backward before they can read it forward, those who, there's so many ways to talk about the insights that we've drawn from the guys in our study who trusted us with their stories. To educators everywhere, I think what we're trying to argue for are classroom and laboratory environments, workspaces for employers where we honor that form of diversity and create opportunities for everyone to succeed. And sometimes you got to get to know people, and sometimes you won't be able to impose the modality or the time restriction on them. You've got to figure out what they need and then build what they require in order to be successful. What do you think?
Yep, let's do weaving. Okay, so success looks like having the things in place in order to meet the goal or achieve what you desire. And I think that when we talk about students with disabilities and giving them accommodations is not special treatment, right? These are things that they need in order to be successful and thrive and soar on our campus, yep. Right? It's not like, oh, because they didn't get extra time on the test, you can't get extra time on the test. It's not because that, everyone can't live on the first floor, so you just get the room that you're assigned. Because no, right? We are recruiting these students, and during our recruitment, we're saying that, one, we see you, we hear you, we value you, and we're going to support you from the time that you apply, and then some folks want to say commencement, what I would say graduation. And that means that, going hand in hand with them throughout the entire process. It's not hand holding, it's not coddling. It is making sure that we are in tune with their needs in order to meet them so they can walk across that stage, because no one goes to school to pay $40,000, $50,000 and not graduate.
Yep. There's so many different ways. Hopefully, they said they can't type in the chat. That's why they were texting. But hopefully that gives you some examples of what we mean by environments that disable. I know for myself, I do live with a disability. It's not it is kind of medically, my eye doctor does tell me, but first of all, everybody who knows me knows I had LASIK a few years ago. One of the consequences of having LASIK is you no longer produce natural tears. Your eye doesn't, you can cry, but you can't tear up. So in dry temperatures, my eyes get very dry, very itchy. By the way, when your eyes are rigid and dry, you don't see as well. For you to see clearly, you need moisture in your eyes. The other thing you need, you can see it probably reflecting off my face, is you need light. And so sometimes I have gone to speak in auditoriums. I've gone to have meetings in rooms that are not well lit, and that environment disadvantages me. It's hard to see my own notes. It's hard to see my slides. Fortunately, I created them most times, and so I can remember the content, but like seeing them and so it always provokes me or hits me, because I'm thinking, but what if I were a student and I needed to see the slides in order to pass the test? What if I didn't? What if I was delivering written remarks that were handed to me by a speech writer? I would be up a creek without a paddle, as they say, right? So we've got to think about poor acoustics, poor lighting, body form, and poor chairs. All of this matters and can disadvantage some while advantaging others. And then the last one I know for me in this moment is last week. Every week we have a pretty good class in psychology, but this past week I thought about, for all my K-12 educators out there, our K-12 educators, we were having a dynamic class, and you've seen the class, Jaquin. So, somebody says something, before you know it, I'm just standing up against the wall, and they're just kicking this stuff back and forth, volleying they're in chapter 1. Now they're back to chapter 2. Now they're using a practical example. I love it. And at one point I saw a student in the back corner. She put her head down, and then she came back, and then she put her head back down. So when class was over, as I was greeting them all, I said to her, hey, can I talk to you for a second? She said, sure. And I said, you got to get some sleep. And she said, why? I said, I guess you're sleepy or something. You keep putting your head down. She said, no, I'm sorry, Dr. Strayhorn. I put my head down because I'm overstimulated easy, and I live with anxiety. And the moving back and forth and the noise and this one and me and my energy is too much. And it made me think about how that environment has to be managed in a way that we can encourage the excitement, get people happy. I love the call and response part of it, but I've also got to create an environment where students don't have to put their head down in order to stay calm enough to be in class. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I think that's another way that the environment can disable students.
Yeah, I love that. I think that, we have to be mindful as professionals, regardless if you're in the workplace, I guess, higher education too, is that there are folks who are in the room that live with maybe ADHD, anxiety, depression, social anxiety, whatever it may be. And, you were, as a professor, observant of that and pull the student aside, and you were open to understanding and as you move forward, you would keep that in your mind. But I would like to share that that's not always the case, right? There are students in our own study who shared that there are many peers and professors and staff members who made them feel less than or invisible or not worthy to be on that college campus. And to them, it was very disheartening. They wanted to learn, but they were, less likely to attend class or less likely to meet with their advisor because of how they were treated, right? These are, again, the environment, the exchange between the individual they were talking to was cold. It was unwelcoming. And because they felt that way, they were less likely to engage in those types of interactions.
Yeah, which is yet another example of how the environment disables, right? Because their interactions with their faculty, with their advisor, with their colleague. Hello, let's just protract it out, right? Because everybody's not in school. Your interaction with your supervisor, with your colleague, with your supervisor can be such that you don't feel supported. You don't feel seen. You don't feel heard. You don't feel safe to be yourself, to show up authentically. So you find yourself masking. You find yourself, this is what the guys were talking about, having to change who they are, to tone it down because people said they're too too much, to overperform because someone said they were too sad. Hopefully he won't mind me saying this, but I remember my son when he was younger. He's just his resting spot is just a kind of even vibration. He will talk sort of guttural, and he's just cool, calm, and collected. But when he was younger, it was even more so. And when people were around us, they would always say, "Terrell, is he okay? Oh, what's wrong with him?" And I'm like, "Oh Lord, nothing is wrong with him. But please." And they say, "Oh, I want to give him a hug. Oh, cheer up." He was happy. He was having a great time. He's not going to jump up and down and, like me. It wasn't him. It's not his personality. But people's expectation caused him to overperform sometimes, which is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And to mask what he really felt, which is dehumanizing. And so this is another way that environments can negatively affect, disadvantage, and disable people, especially based on identity. And I know, there are probably lots of people out there who have been in those situations and may find themselves struggling. And the question I always get is, so how do I do this? How do I show up authentically when showing up authentically is causing me pain? When showing up authentically is a risk? When showing up authentically is causing people to label me a certain way, or it's getting me kicked out the group chat, or getting me on people's bad sides? What would you say to that?
Be you. Who gives a darn? Oh, you lucky my grandma is on this show tonight. I think it really rubs me the wrong way because I know how it feels. Like, can I be energetic up and down and beat bopping around? Yes, but there are some days I do not want to talk. And when people constantly say, "Are you okay? What's wrong with you? Be more upbeat. Stop being a Debbie Downer. Oh my God, you're killing the vibe." Like, it doesn't make people feel good when it really it's their natural state, right? That's just who they are. So I would say, one, to the people who are doing that, accept people for who they are. Mm-hmm. And the people who are receiving that type of energy, boo, sugar, honey, keep it pushing. Don't mind them, right? Because at the end of the day, what you're going to do is you're going to perform and continue to perform and continue to perform, and they're going to expect you to what? Perform. And you're the only one that's suffering, right? You are the person who, you don't feel yourself, you don't feel authentic. And when you don't feel authentic, you don't feel real. Because you don't feel real, now you feel like you're fake and phony. Child, give her all of that, right? I think that my advice would be, again, I've been there and I have struggled through those things. When people say, like, "Why are you so quiet today? Why are you acting like that?" I try to perform to live up to their expectations. Mm-hmm. But
all some of that, right? Performance. But to your point, you perform and you perform and you perform to the point where you wake up one day, look in the mirror, and you don't even know who you are anymore. And here's the other thing is, I think psychologically, Jaquan, when we perform, because everybody's, somebody come around, when your supervisor's around, most people, not all people. I thought that was my TV. That is loud.
What is that? Someone outside? Boy, you need to, your windows.
You got no protection. No, that was also super duper loud. But people, when the supervisor comes around, or when, we tend to be socialized to what people call the mask of professionalism. Everything's okay. We got it all together. We're going to make the deadline. All is well. The team is fine, right? When you and your coworker ain't talked in 2 weeks. But at some point, you do want to find ways to deal with and cope. So, not to talk generically then, right? Beyond that masking behavior, I think it is okay to those who are doing what we just talked about to set some boundaries, like to just let people know, like, hey, you know what? I've had to say this to people, like, there's complexity to my life. Sometimes I'm up. I do stay on a high vibration most days. not every day. I'm human. And so there's some days I might be on a 9 or a 10, something in the 8.5. But I do have some days where I'm just coasting at a 4 or 5. And I hope that you will give me grace to also use my lower vibrations. And in exchange, I'll do the same for you. I won't judge your 3s and 4s as you are killing my vibe or you are mad and blue and angry. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes, we're all works in progress. But I think that's one way you can do it, is start to communicate and set some boundary. I think the other thing is it's okay to tell people like, hey, just because I'm excited doesn't mean I'm angry, or doesn't mean I am performing. I'm literally and legitimately excited about this project and the opportunity to work with you on it. And so I'll try to manage my energy, but people often say that to me. I get on panels and I just love to talk. I love to see connections. I love to do this kind of work. And so when I get up there and I'm just going, people will be like, oh my God, every single time is not a keynote. And to me, sometimes life is a keynote, and that's okay. And just because you don't get excited about talking about things that way doesn't mean that I'm wrong or that you're wrong. There's just multiple ways for us all to do this. And so I think, one, set boundaries. I think, two, if you're in a position where you have performed and overperformed and you are exhausted, you feel the strain, you feel the burn, you do feel you're struggling to the point where you're not even really excited about going back into that environment, maybe school, maybe home, maybe work, reach out, get help. There's therapy, there's counseling. And every therapy and counseling isn't sitting on someone's sofa, although that is one way to do it. Sometimes it's picking up the phone. Sometimes it's getting on screen. Sometimes it's going for a walk and reading a book. Sometimes it's putting some lo-fi music on your headphones while you just process all that's happening and fall back in love with yourself and get to know yourself again. I think those are really sort of important strategies of doing this.
I love that. And I think that what I was looking for the past 5 minutes in this darn chapter was, and I didn't realize it, but it really ties to what we're talking about right now. And what we said in the chapter in our findings was Black men affecting how some faculty, staff, and peers perceive them on campus, which causes them to quickly mislabel Black men's anxiety as anger, their depression as disengagement, their resilience as rule breaking, their stress as sass, and that leads to dismissal, not diagnosis, resentment, not referral, and even out of school suspension, not in school support. Listen, that part right there really shows that although there are things that people are going through, we mislabel them, we misjudge them, rather than asking questions to better understand what they're going through in that moment and how we can best support them instead of putting them down.
Yeah. Awesome. So listen, we have had, can you believe it's already an episode? My goodness, this was good. We were going all through it. We have reached the end of the show, but we're going to wrap up in a couple of ways. We got a question for you all, and then we will offer our final thoughts. And I want to make sure that I don't throw off the closing song like I did last week. This new system, we love it, but I'm still learning it. So question for y'all, and if you want to put it in the chat, we'll throw it on the screen while we sort of wrap up this episode. Thank you again for tuning in. Follow us on social media, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and X. But the question is, what's one way that you're protecting your peace this month? Come on, what's one way that you're protecting your peace in the month of October, month of transitions? So as the leaves start to change, as the weather starts to cool off, how are you? What are you doing? A couple of examples, things that you're doing to protect your peace this month. Anything come to mind for you, Jaquin?
Good question. For me to protect my peace this month, let's see. I think really, which I have done. Well, it's in the month of October. Spending more time with family. I think that I have over the course of my career neglected that part of my life. So, and I've realized being with my grandparents yesterday, being around family really brings me peace. So I'm going to find more time to spend time with them. getting my work done, because work is very important to me. I enjoy doing it. It's not a chore, it's not a job. It is something I'm passionate about. But I also love being around family, so I'm gonna find time to do that.
Yeah, love it. All right, we got folks saying they're going to take some rest, and that is what you must do. Listen, I wanted to talk about rest, Dr. Whitty, because when we talk about like, what do you do? So we were saying, hey, set boundaries, protect your peace, communicate with people about the fact that, who you are. I'm all the way up. I tend to stay on a lower vibration. Don't assign meaning to it for me. Let me tell you how I feel, right? Because I could be happy and quiet. Everybody who's making noise ain't happy. And everybody who's quiet ain't depressed. I'll put that on a t-shirt. Kim, put that on a t-shirt for us. But listen, the other thing is rest. And rest actually can be resistant. I was telling a coworker of mine that, one way you can fight back. Fighting is not always with our fists, nor is it with our words. Sometimes you fight by just excusing yourself from it. You know what? My ideas aren't valued, so I'm not going to the meeting anymore. My contributions aren't celebrated and my perspective is not included, so I'm not serving on the board anymore. As my mom would say, so everything I ain't got to do. I don't have to do everything. There's some things you have to do. There's some things that you choose to do, and that when that, what is it, that phrase, when love is no longer being served at the table, sometimes you got to excuse yourself and just say, hey, look, it was a season. It was a season of me doing that. It was a season of me being involved in that club or organization. It was a season for me serving on that task force. But now that I'm done with that season, I'm going to pull back. I'm going to conserve my energy, conserve my time. I'm going to rest. It's Sunday. Creola put it up here, putting on the whole armor of God. So I'm going to go there. There's a scripture when David is being chased by all of his enemies. The Bible says in the middle of being pursued by all of his enemies, David did something revolutionary. He went to sleep. Okay. And when he woke up, he realized the Lord had sustained him. Sometimes when life is lifing and throwing you lemons left and right, and you stumped your toe and the cat ate your keyboard and you got a ticket on your car and your rent is due and your money is funny and your coworkers are, you just got to go to sleep. I'm gonna go back to what you said, friend. Have faith that you may not know what tomorrow holds, but you know who holds tomorrow.
Okay, now.
And so you go to sleep. And then when you wake up, you realize, wow, Sunday turned into Monday. Monday turned into Tuesday. I'm now in the day that I was worried about. And I'm not just saying it because it's rhythmical and sounds like preaching. I've lived it. I have had days where I thought, you know what, I don't know what to do about it. And fortunately, I was able to get to sleep. And then when I woke up the next day, it didn't hurt as bad. So sometimes rest, as Dr. Whitty said, Creola said, it is our respite. It is our balm. It is our therapy. All right. So how ways that you're going to protect your peace. So you said with family. I mean, I got enough family up here to say I'm definitely going to spend more time with family. But before I spend time with family, let me see some other things I'm going to do. You know what I did? I've been working on my coffee. Anybody who knows me, y'all know. My dream one day is to own a coffee shop. I don't know when it's going to happen, but one day I am. And so I've been working on my coffee, and I have
making coffee. Okay, talk to us.
So,
okay. I got so many questions. Go ahead.
I've been working. I have a new maker, and it has a frother on it. And so I've been trying out different blends of frothing milk and oat milk and different kinds of alternative creams with flavor and seeing what I can come up with. And you know what? It's the making it for me. The drinking it is great, but I find that when I'm starting to make it, my brain just, even my Oura ring and my watch says something like, you are relaxed right now. And that's a good sign. Throw yourself into something.
Are you saying that every cup you make is good?
No, let me tell you, the first cup I made was horrible. The first cup I made, I wanted to sue myself. It was horrible. I was like, what is, but I didn't know you're supposed to put flavor inside the foam. So it was like black coffee with white foam, and it tastes like trash. But after I started playing with it a bit and I started getting some extra things, and like if I want a nuttier flavor, if I want an intense coffee, anyway, y'all gonna have to come to my coffee shop someday. I'll make a cup when we're around each other again.
Yeah, I'll be there soon. I love
you. Got to come here. You got to come here for. All right, friends, listen. We have reached the end of the show. We don't want to go, but remember, the Tonight Show is a reminder that doing good work is not always about going out and doing things for others, although that's important. Do things for others. Shine light. Send love. Be kind. But doing good work also starts with being good to yourself. Take care of yourself. Give yourself a break. Give yourself grace. And when you go out here this week, don't be afraid to do something. Do something big, do something magical, do something meaningful. You know what we call it? We call it doing good work. And until next time, Jaquin and Terrell say peace.
Peace out.
And we are out.
Thank you for tuning in to Do Good Work Podcast. We hope you found today's conversation informative, uplifting, and insightful. Don't forget to like and share this episode with your networks. Follow us on social media at Do Good Work on X, formerly Twitter, for real-time updates, behind-the-scenes content, and so much more. Until next time, friends, don't be afraid to do something, but do something good. Do good work. Thank you for tuning in to Do Good Work Podcast. We hope you found today's conversation